Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive. Going through all the X-books is their mission, so get ready for the Learned Edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind.
Welcome, all you weirdos, Hellfire Club student interns, and everyone mourning the untimely death of Romulus. It is time to receive your 196th, oh my goodness gracious, Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I tested that before hitting record. I am your...
How big is your screen, by the way? Because I recorded an entire episode last week by myself, and I did not somehow set it in loop. Those buttons are not as tiny as you make them think they are.
I'm not setting it in loop. It is not in loop. It just sometimes loops even when it's not set in loop.
Okay.
I got two screens going. I got my laptop screen, and I've got a little portable, similar size, my laptop screen off to the side, and that's what I've got my Zencaster on. I've got all my notes and scripts and things on my main screen. Boo, but I didn't finish my intro, so let's do this again. Be professional here. Okay.
Yes.
Jim, edit that out. It is time to receive your 196th Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I am your slowly recovering host, Jason, broadcasting to you, as always, from the Wrong Turn studio, perched high atop stately Weird Science Manor. And joining me today is my still half-mad with power co-host, Ruben. Hey, Ruben, how the heck are you today?
I'm doing great. Any day that I'm not sitting in the chair with the buttons, it's a good day.
Well, you seem to enjoy pushing those buttons last week. You got all the drops going and everything. It was pretty cool. Yeah. I enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah, I always enjoy you being here, though, man, and I'm glad you're recovering. It made me sad that you weren't able to record last week.
It is a whole different experience just by yourself, facing the screen and trying to get the energy going and trying to talk to people when it's just you. So I appreciate you going for it when I just, I got hit by, I don't know if we call it the flu or if it's the RSV virus, whatever the hell it is. But yeah I wasn't able to even go to church for most of Holy Week. I wasn't able to sing in the choir. I had to call off of work. So I'm on the road to recovery, but as you can tell, I'm still a little, we don't talk about health issues here at Weird Science Industries. There's a rule comes straight down from the top. It's unprofessional. So we should get back to the nitty gritty, which was comic books. One book you didn't mention last week was the Eternals 50th anniversary special. And I think you said you did read that, right?
I read it. I was a little disappointed, so I did not bring it up. But maybe we could talk about it today.
It didn't have a lot of what I might call modern Eternals to it, right? Which to me means Kieran Gillen. It did not incorporate any of that.
Just to be clear, it's not bad. It's just not what I wanted. That's literally the complaint.
It also did not have a whole lot of Eternals in it. It was a lot of Icarus. A lot of Icarus. But, I like the weird ones. I like I want to see what Druig's up to. I want to see what Uranos is up to. They did have that weird final story where it was some music guy wrote.
I didn't understand the point of that one. They were like, oh, I'm going to do something cool. Let's create a new Eternal. And there's like 100 of them. I'm like, you don't need to create a new Eternal. Just show any of the ones that we know the names of that we've never actually dealt with.
Yeah, the writer's named Patrick Stump, who is the lead singer, main songwriter, one of the main guitarists of the band Fall Out Boy. And I guess he's a big Jack Kirby fan. And Marvel, I don't know how he hooked up with Marvel, and Marvel told him, you can write whatever you want for this story here, but you have to introduce a brand new Eternal.
Annoying.
I don't know
that
why.
That actually kind of pisses me off. Like I said, Kieran Gillen had that page, right, where it was like 100 Eternals, and then I remember specifically Sprite wasn't listed, so I was like, what the hell? You have 100 Eternals, you don't have Sprite, and everyone knows that's one of them. And now we have another Eternal, right? So I guess are we up to like 102? Is that what we're supposed to believe?
You know what they should have done? They should have done a whole story and then reveal Kamala Khan also an Eternal. Boom. Everything. She is the trifecta. She is everything. Yes. Put her out. She's also been on the Avengers, so she got that going for her.
Yeah.
It's everything. Everything comes down to Kamala Khan. That's what I think they should have done. So the Eternal, I think the art was mostly really good. Some really cool art. Michael Cho, who's already influenced by Jack Kirby, really leaning into the Jack Kirby thing. That was in the Ralph Macchio story was actually pretty darn good. I know that Ralph Macchio often gets like the movie tie-in comics, and those aren't so great, but this one, it was a nice little story he did. And that Icarus story up front by Ethan Parker, Griffin Sheridan, also a fun little story with some cool art by Phil Noto, Dale Eaglesham. So terrific art. If you're a big Icarus fan, you definitely got to have it. But if you were into it for the Kieran Gillen stuff or just the wild, wide, wacky world of Eternals, probably not giving you quite what you wanted.
I like your idea of Kamala Khan being an Eternal, but let's make her an external. That would be another one just to like blow people's heads.
she's also,
like
probably
secret...
an avian. Avians, right? That was the thing that Uncanny was talking about before Charles Xavier got yoinked off to be in that book that got canceled.
Oh yeah, she's one of the four. Is the missing link.
So let's see what else we got going on. Oh, the actual books we're going to talk about this week. This week's books, we have Uncanny X-Men number 26, which I thought was going to come out last week, somehow got pushed back a week, which means in the same week we also have the Uncanny X-Men 2026 annual, aka the Uncannual, and we also have Wolverine number 18, which is continuing that arc with the Knorlocks, and we finally get the synthesis where we get the adamantine showing up with the Knorlocks. So those are the books we're talking about today. But we're going to start with a little bit of news. And this is news we got to talk about, Ruben, because it has been announced, surprise, surprise, we have a crossover event coming. This is an X-Office only event. It's called DNX with the tagline, Evolution is Contagious. So this is going to start in September. There's going to be an event series from Jed MacKay and artist Federico Vicentini. It's going to be teased in the Avengers X-Men Free Comic Book Day book, which is not called Free Comic Book Day anymore. It's called Comics Giveaway Day because Diamond crapped the bed and now they own, it's the same thing. It's just a different name as far as I can tell. So DNX, what in the hell do you think that even means?
The acronym doesn't mean anything to me, but the idea of evolution being contagious makes it sound like people randomly mutating, which then makes me think of the current storyline that McKay's been doing with 3K. Yes, thank you.
And the virus thing that Dougie may be working on now. And
yeah, I'm going to guess that it's the wrap up of that story.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the idea of a fall crossover X event? Because some people are rolling their eyes, saying sick of this event crap. What do you think of it?
I'm fine with within a particular line crossover events. I think that's a good way to keep interest. Mm-hmm. It gives you a reason to read different stories in the line that you might not otherwise be reading, and you would think these characters would interact somewhat regularly.
Yeah,
I actually don't. I generally like crossover type events. What I don't like is every single story being like, this is the end of the world, the biggest, baddest extinction level threat. Like you could tell cool interconnected stories without everything being end of the world, and I kind of wish that would be when people say they've got like event fatigue, I think that's what it is, right? Where it's like every single time it's like, oh, the whole world has changed forever, and then as soon as the event's over, it's never referenced again. But I like the idea of the teams interacting with each other as long as they have a reason to do so.
Absolutely agree. And I think you and I are in a different position because we're reading all the books anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if it's somebody who's only buying like Jed MacKay's X-Men, somebody in that position might be, no, I don't crap. I'm not. If I just keep buying the book, I'm buying. I'm not going to know what's going on. They're forcing me to buy other things. So I can understand that position. But for you and I think the idea of the books having a little more continuity among themselves is a good thing. Like
X-Manhunt was fine. Like it wasn't like an amazing story, but I kind of had fun with it. I liked I liked that they did that, and I wouldn't mind seeing that more regularly. I just don't like when they put everything else at hostage either, right? Where it's like, oh, and now the Avengers have to be involved. And in part, that's, again, back to this problem of if you write these stories so big that these other teams would be involved, then you kind of have to put them into it. Otherwise, you get things like Children of the Vault, where the whole world's changing, except it's not mentioned anywhere ever.
That is the problem with these giant shared universes that go on for decades and decades is, right, like, not to always bring up the power fantasy, but when in the power fantasy, they could actually end the world, right? You actually believe the threat is real because that is just a standalone book. And if that book ends, that book ends. Where in a Marvel comic, we know that Amazing Spider-Man is going to come out again next month, probably 3 of them. We know that the Avengers are going to still be around next month. So that the threat that the world really will end, nobody believes it. So if we can get a self-contained story that could maybe change or at least make us think that things are going to change for the X-Men, maybe show some continuity with that United book, because I think this is going to give United a chance to get like its first arc out of the way, and then we could have some crossover with the event. That could work. Again, we'll find out some more details about this on, what are we calling it? Not Free Comic Book Day, Comics Giveaway Day, which is May 2nd. So that's the next time that we know we'll get some more news about this DNX event.
I do want to say that's a bad title. Because when I hear DN, I'm like, do not X. I'm like, you really want your event to be.
It makes me think of either BMX, your bike motocross, or DNR, do not resuscitate, which again is not what you want people thinking about when they're thinking about your comic books. Okay, that is what's going on in the near future. Let's talk about what came out this week. And I did not put, there it is. Ding sound, found it. Uncanny X-Men number 26. Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed? Part 1. Written by Gail Simone. Art by Luciano Vecchio. Colors by Matthew Wilson. And letters by Clayton Coles. And it also says, huge thanks to the great Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod. Now, this is a strange issue, Ruben. We get a little bit about Rogue and Gambit. We get a little bit about Nightcrawler and Mackenzie Denier. And then we get a full-on retelling of Marvel graphic novel number 4 from 1982. Wow. So let's start with the cover. The cover shows the outliers and the uncannies, but in the foreground, we see just a portion from behind of a figure dressed in a classic X-Men uniform, and we can't really tell what it is. When this was previewed at the end of the last issue, Ruben, we talked about it. We tried to make some guesses who this was. I don't remember who we guessed, but I'm pretty sure we got it wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was Kitty Pryde, but
Kitty Pryde, right.
It is not.
It is Mutina, of all characters.
Yes.
And we will get to her, but not before we get these other two bits of the story out of the way first. So Rogue and Gambit are on a bit of a walking around New Orleans kind of date. They have a conversation about family and about possibly adopting the outlier kids. How would that even work? I mean, would there be legal complications? 3 out of the 4 of them probably aren't even in the country fully with the legal paperwork all done.
You think these are
how do they
illegal immigrants? I mean, they probably are, but we still not on green cards.
That's the thing. We don't know how these kids got here.
Yeah.
Right? They just kind of walked through a portal. They just walked onto the grounds of a Haven House in issue 1, and we still don't know how they got there.
Yeah.
Plus, these kids are already in their teens. By the time the paperwork's complete, they're going to be adults. What's even going on here? So the familial discussion is interrupted when Rogue and Gambit wander into the scene of a mugging. I guess that happens in New Orleans. 2 standard-issue street thugs getting violent with a Spanish-speaking woman.
Rogue he means business because he's holding the gun sideways.
That's when you know you're a true badass, yeah.
Yes.
One of my favorite scenes in the old Everybody Loves Raymond sitcom. The 2 brothers came home from some, gang movie, and they're all acting out the scene holding the gun sideways at each other. Yes. That's how you know when you're a badass.
Yeah.
But, of course, these are Rogue and Gambit. They're X-Men. They make short work of the thugs. Gambit gets a little too violent, threatened to cut up one of the thugs even after the fight's clearly over. Presumably, this is that Ive Agamotto having more influence on him even after Gambit tried to get rid of the damn thing at the end of the last arc.
And then kept it, yeah. Mm-hmm. I like that because of that. I was like, what's going on here? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember the eye. So we're finally actually seeing it influencing him, which previously it felt like he had no influence until the issue and he was suddenly an addict and couldn't get rid of it.
If this had come before the previous arc, I thought it worked better, but better late than never. One weird thing, that lady they saved screams, "Get away from me," which I can get, she doesn't really know what's going on. That's fine. But then she looks at Gambit and calls him a cannibal, which is an odd thing to scream at somebody. Now, Ruben, you and I know that the Eye of Agamotto is supposed to kind of turn somebody into someone who craves human flesh.
Yeah.
But Gambit did not do anything in front of this woman's eyes that would make her scream cannibal. So weird choice there of words.
Next says just a little taste. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she misunderstood what he was saying. I think he was saying just a little taste of how nasty I am. But, but maybe she misunderstood. She's like, don't eat the person.
That's probably what's going on. That's like a page and a half apart, but that's probably what was intended. Just a little taste, sure. Yeah, I took that as
maybe he licked his
well.
face. Maybe he licked his face after cutting the. I don't know.
Could be, but I'm sure that is it. So thanks for making that link. Next scene: Nightcrawler's back at Haven House and complaining to Jubilee that Mackenzie hasn't been answering his calls. Mm-hmm. And the last time we saw Mackenzie was in the Mutina issue, Uncanny 22, right after the Age of Doug crossover. That was the one where we saw that Bamfing causes Mackenzie physical pleasure. Remember that?
Yes.
Mackenzie was also taken hostage by Mutina in that issue, had a knife held to her throat, which was probably somewhat less pleasurable. I don't know what she's into. But, a tough night if for someone who's just out on a date and then gets threatened by a mutant girl.
Yeah.
So now, after complaining to her, or just kind of, talking to Jubilee about, not really complaining, but kind of being sad about how things are going, Nightcrawler goes to bed and then is awakened sometime later by Jubilee.
So you forget that he's sad that he can't play the piano.
Oh, yeah. That is pretty funny. Because
he looks at his hands, he's like, oh.
He just...
he doesn't have enough fingers. I was like,
yeah, I mean, Django Reinhardt could famously play the guitar while missing a couple fingers, gypsy jazz. Yeah. But, if you only have 6 fingers, there's a limit to what you can do harmonically on the piano. It's just math. So
I want to say, like, you try your tail, dude. Like, there's got to be creative ways that you could do this.
Things you could do. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
He could teleport back and forth at the different ends of the piano. He could play a duet with himself.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes to bed. He is awakened sometime later in the night. So either he went to bed super early, or it's now really the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. Jubilee says it's an emergency, so naturally Kurt pops right out of bed, even though he's only wearing his tighty whities. Yeah, but these tighty whities have a hole cut in the back for his tail to go through. Very convenient. Mm-hmm. So what made me wonder here, do you think in the 616, like Hanes and Fruit of the Loom just sell tail-friendly underwear because it's so common? Or are these custom-made? Gail Simone, these are the questions we want answered.
Yeah.
So Kurt hurries downstairs to see what the emergency is, and Jubilee probably should have been a little more specific here because it's Mackenzie who's visiting to apologize for ignoring him. There's a bunch of flowers and pastries in the room that I'm guessing that Mackenzie brought with her. So does Kurt go back to his room and put on a pair of pants?
No,
because this is written by Gail Simone.
He's got a lot to offer. He's got to showcase his physique.
He's got his blue six-pack going on.
Yeah.
So is this Jubilee like doing him a favor, giving him an excuse to show up mostly naked in front of his would-be girlfriend?
Yeah.
I think that's probably what's
so.
going on. Yeah. So it works out. They have a smooch. They seem to be an official couple now, just like I predicted so many months ago. I'm going to take credit for that again. Mackenzie is clearly very much into the idea of dating a hero, something we also saw in the future timeline. Seeing Kurt as a brave, heroic figure is a big thing.
Yeah, she's nice. I actually think this is an okay forced couple, but I kind of like these characters.
Yeah, she's pretty good. I wonder if she could get too over the top and too much into the super heroic side of him and putting him too much on a pedestal. That could be a way to go. But for now, a fine couple.
This ends with her wearing Sean Cassidy's skin.
All storylines end with the girlfriend wearing someone's skin. That's the way X-Men comics work now.
Yeah, because she's too nice, right? Like, I'm just like, what are you going to do? She's
It's got to end badly at some point. You know that.
Yes.
Okay, now let's talk about the kids, the outliers. They're all in bed. And first we get one page for each of them tossing and turning during a nightmare. Ransom dreams of his kidnappers coming back to life and threatening him again. Nothing too brand new on this page. We know he was kidnapped. We know he kind of killed his kidnappers. That's going to haunt your dreams a little bit.
Very important that he is wearing a Argentina soccer jersey to bed.
He is. He's very much into soccer. It's a lot of soccer going on in both Uncanny issues this week. He plays soccer.
I thought he was Brazilian, though, right? So that was a little bizarre to me. Am I wrong? Is he Argentinian?
I'm not sure. I would have guessed Brazilian, but I do not recognize soccer outfits, so I'm going to have to leave that to your expertise.
Yeah.
So does it say Argentina, or you just recognize the pattern?
The pattern is definitely the Argentina jersey.
Okay. I will take your word on that. It
looks like the Argentina flag.
Oh, makes sense.
That would be a very scandalous... That's like a Messi jersey, basically.
You don't think that's a lighting issue, like that famous blue and gold or black and white dress that went around the internet like 10 years ago?
Okay.
You don't think it's
what? That's what it is, yeah.
Could be a light.
Yeah.
So he has that dream. Next, we have Jitter. Jitter dreams about school being awful with bullies. We knew that. And about her mom being angry when Jitter knows how to make a cheese souffle despite no one having taught her to make a cheese souffle. Ruben, how long does it take to make a cheese souffle? Because so she can be Julia Child for 1 minute. Is that enough time to make a cheese souffle?
Yeah, I had the exact same thought. I was like, why am I not making these souffles? Because I've watched a lot of cooking shows, right? Like they oftentimes have like tap the professional chef for like 10 minutes or something, right? And it doesn't save
the competition
them.
Ones, yeah.
Yeah, like their food is still garbage, but apparently Jitter can do it
I wonder if she can kind of cheat it. We still don't know the limitations, how many times she can do this in like an hour. Can she be like Julia Child for a minute, and then Thomas Keller for a minute, and Jacques Pepin for a minute, and then the Frugal Gourmet for a minute? Can she just cycle through all these French chefs until the meal is done?
Yeah, I guess so.
We also learned something very important here, Ruben. We learned that as a kid back in Singapore, Jitter had a certain set of stuffed animals, and she sings their theme song, and this group is called the Brute Force.
Yes,
I did not recognize this, but I guess you did. So do you want to tell us who the Brute Force are? Not the Brute Squad. That's different. The Brute Force.
Yeah, I used to own these comics. I bought them. It was a 4-issue miniseries in the 1990s.
And came out in 1990, exactly.
Yeah, and basically it's a team of 5 wild animals that have mechanical bodysuits and caps that give them some level of human intellect, and they go on missions to save the environment. It's really terrible, but it's hilariously terrible.
They could also transform into vehicles, as was the fashion at the time. Yeah. So you got like this porpoise in a mechanical suit, rolling around on wheels, which is objectively hilarious. That's the Brute Force.
But so I hadn't read it since then. I was like, oh yeah, I remember having this crap. So I looked in my collection. I actually gave these comics away because I downsized about 2 years ago. I was like, okay, let me just keep the stuff that I actually might read again someday. This didn't make the cut. But after seeing this, I was like, oh my God, I got to read this again. So I started reading it. I've only read issue 1, and it's hilarious. It knows that it's like campy and stupid. And
yeah, they were originally basically in their own universe.
Yeah.
But they had been more recently retconned to be kind of related to the Weapon Plus program.
Yeah, they're now saying that this
kind of idea.
Yeah, they're saying this is Weapon 2, the second iteration of the Weapons program.
I don't understand the Weapon X, Weapon Plus, Weapon 2, Weapon II. I don't really.
Weapon X is just Weapon 10. It's just basically the military always had these like crazy plans to develop superhumans that were under the government's control.
There was an Infinity comic just a couple years ago. I have not gone back and read that either, but there is a Brute Force Infinity comic that you can find on Marvel Unlimited if that's what you're looking for. And the original Brute Force miniseries is also on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah. One of the best parts is the inventor of the Brute Force. His name is Ronald Pierce.
Yes.
So I was like, is this the strange brother of Donald Pierce? If you want to like make more like ridiculous X continuity stuff. Yeah. Yes. He even has like a ponytail. He kind of looks like Donald
Maybe they're
Pierce.
twins. Yeah.
Yeah. One of them is an anti-mutant bigot, and the other is creating the Brute Force.
I taught a probability class this weekend, Ruben. Yeah. And one of the classic things you talk about is the probability that 2 kids in the class have the same birthday, right? It's a whole thing. I didn't look at my class list. I have 2 kids who come from the same high school, have the same last name, the same grade, and have first names starting with the same letter.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, of course, they were born on the same day. They're twins, so all of my math just kind of went out the window. But, oh well. Maybe that's Ronald and Donald Pierce.
Yes.
So I think that's enough brute force talk. That's more brute force talk than anyone ever thought was going to happen on this podcast. But
I will say,
Gail Simone. Really wonder why she decided to bring them
back. Book of the month, man. Write this one down. Book of the month. Next time Jim runs his mouth and says, "I've got," Jason can do book of the month. Like pick Brute Force, man.
Brute Force. That's a good one. Good one. Okay. Next, we get a page that has a retcon on it. Death Dream is sleeping. He's sleeping on his back with his arms crossed over his chest like he's a vampire in the coffin, of course.
Mm-hmm.
His nightmare is about, I guess, the choking death of his little brother?
Yeah.
This was hinted at by Mutina in issue 22. This is our first real look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the retcon. So Marvel and Gail Simone originally kind of messed up Death Dream's name. His name on the page has always been Hotaru with an O in the middle. But that's not really a Japanese name. The Japanese name is Hotaru with an A sound in the middle. Hotaru means firefly. Most often a girl's name, but can be also used for a boy. So what this page does is it says that Hotaru's little brother used to mispronounce his name, and kind of in honor, I guess, remembrance of that, that's why Hotaru has introduced himself by the mispronounced name ever since. I don't know that we needed that retcon. I don't know if Gail Simone was getting flack online from actual Japanese people and or American weebs who were just on her case about the misspelled name, but there we go. Now it's explained.
Yeah. And it's kind of a sad ending, or sad story, right? We had it insinuated that, he might have killed his brother or been responsible for it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, he's just a kid and a little baby chokes, and he tried to get help, right? Like, it's not really his fault. So,
right. But you can certainly see why he would, this would weigh on you if this is an experience you had. And we don't see that the brother died, but it's kind of implied that he chokes to death because of maybe a toy that Hotaru handed to him.
Yeah.
Okay, final nightmares, Calico's. Again, nothing real new here. She dreams about the night that her mother burned the stable down. We know her mother was kind of crazy, hated horses. We know the fire was the night that Calico maybe Calico herself burned everything down. We don't know. Something crazy with horses and fire went on in that house. Nothing good.
Yeah.
So these are just regular nightmares as far as we know. But then Waffles, the killer sentinel dog, freaks out, alerts Jubilee, who, was up all night, and Jubilee discovers that all the kids are missing, having disappeared from their beds.
Yeah.
So, Ruben, where have they gone? They have disappeared into a retelling of Marvel graphic novel number 4, which was the first appearance of the New Mutants. Published in 1982, so like 7 years into the Claremont run. In the early 80s, Marvel decided to publish this line of original graphic novels. It's a way of telling longer or maybe slightly more mature stories, and they thought they could get away with in the monthly floppies. God Loves, Man Kills was also a graphic novel. That was graphic novel number 5, just a couple months after graphic novel number 4 with the New Mutants. Graphic novel number 4, written by Claremont, drawn by Bob McLeod, who got the special thanks there at the beginning. This was the first appearance of most of the New Mutants. First appearance of Danny Moonstar, Rain Sinclair, Roberto DaCosta, and Sam Guthrie. Karma had made one earlier appearance in Marvel Team-Up number 100, but otherwise, this is, if you want to know where the New Mutants come from, this is really where you have to go.
Yeah, and she was going by Psych.
Right, she was going by Psych. And in this issue, each of our outliers is shown taking the place of a corresponding New Mutant, kind of replacing that New Mutant in that New Mutant's origin story from that graphic novel.
Yep.
So, first we see Jitter fall out of the sky and pass out in front of Moira McTaggart, which was Rain Sinclair, Wolfbane's origin. Also, this was the first time that I look at a page and go, what in the hell is happening here? Because Moira McTaggart? She's off in some pocket universe, having an actual life and death, as far as we know, at the end of Krakoa. Yeah. So to see Moira McTaggart on the page, that is a really clear way of Gail Simone telling us something funky's going on right here.
Yeah. So I really liked this. I'm going to tell you.
It was all right. Yeah.
Especially having just read this, like, randomly. I think I told you a while ago, I just started reading New Mutants. I've only made it to, like, issue 10. I just haven't gotten past that. But I had read this part, and I was like, I know what you're doing here. And in general, Moira, with, like, how controversial she became at the end of Krakoa, we haven't seen her, heard from her since. I didn't think I'd see her in any context. So to see her here, there's just a little bit more of, like, oh, wow. Because you go back to, like, a lot of people are doing this, like, hey, let's go back to the past and retell that story. And it just doesn't have any emotional impact. But for me, this character in particular, I thought, like, wow, what are you doing with Moira?
And the art changes a little bit here, too. It's kind of like halfway between the 80s style and the current style. in that it has more detail to a lot of the figures than the 80s had, but the colors are much flatter and give you that feeling of reading an old 1980s comic book, which I think is a good choice.
Yeah.
Also, we see those Hellfire goons show up on this page. Those generic masked guys with almost like a U or like a horse collar shape around their necks. Yeah. So that's another thing that's not something currently going on. And the caption says we are on Sentosa Island, Singapore, and Singapore is where Jitter is from. And then it just says elsewhere. So the original Rain St. Clair one was going on in, I guess, Scotland, I think. I don't remember to look it up.
It was,
but it certainly was not Singapore. I know that for sure.
No, it wasn't. So it's weird to see like they're kind of merging the origins.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that the foliage here looks more like Singapore and less like Scotland. Not that I'm an expert on what the botany of either of those places, but it looks very tropical.
There's not a lot of bamboo in Scotland. I can confirm that.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so that was not Rain St. Clair. That was Jitter. Next, we see Ransom in a soccer match, and now he's wearing a yellow and blue soccer.
Yeah, this
jersey.
one did not offend me. Jersey. Yep, this does not offend me. Mm-hmm. Other than the idea of it being so tight that you can see his abs and pecs, it's not the way you typically see a soccer jersey.
Gail Simone loves certain things.
Yeah,
he's playing soccer, and this was Sunspot's origin, and he's kind of gets a little roughed up and beat up by the opposition, just like Sunspot was. Although in Sunspot's case, it was very clearly racially motivated, where here it was just, as far as we can tell, just a team versus team kind of rivalry. So he kind of gets extra strong and tosses one of the bullies like 50 feet away. And we see that Cyclops, Scott Summer, is observing incognito in the crowd.
Have we seen the Kirby crackle on Ransom before?
I'm not sure.
Because in this one, when he's throwing him, we do, and it definitely looks like Sunspot. I was like, looks more Sunspot,
where it's just solid black with the Kirby dots around it, which is how Sunspot was drawn back in the day. And stuff is where I think is Ransom shown having physical manifestation of his.
I don't think we've seen it before. That's what I'm asking. Yeah,
I don't think so. I think that's just because we're in this other world here. Yeah. Good call there. Next scene, we have Calico.
Another question. You see Scott Summers right in the crowd.
Yes,
looks like he's talking to Hank, and that was. I don't recall the actual X-Men being around at this point in time. They definitely weren't like scouting out the New Mutants, so that would be another change. Yeah,
in Charles Xavier did not exist. Not that it didn't exist, but did not appear in the graphic novel. None of the main X-Men did. It was Moira kind of collecting these kids and bringing them to the Xavier school, and kind of she's going to present them to Charles, saying, here's your new students, back to basics. Because at this point, the original kids who had started off as kids at the school had become this superhero team. So this was, let's get back to having kids at the school.
Yeah, and when the New Mutants arrived at that exact moment, the X-Men were thought lost. So Xavier thought they were all gone because they had all been captured by the Brood, and who knows what was going on. But it was like a off-world cosmic thing. So the New Mutants were showing up as like, the next version of the team, right? Which is like the second time that they had done that, because that's how the
Giant Size team
showed up too. But anyways, so they definitely weren't here. So this is not the true like past, but it's very familiar. So I thought it was a good way to. Yeah, I recognized it immediately. I felt like a dope when I was like in Slack telling you like, oh yeah, there was this scene where Sunspot was playing soccer and this and that happened, and then you're like, yeah, that's what happened in this issue. When I read it, I was like, oh, that's why you're talking about it.
Yeah, I was asking questions about the graphic novel, The New Mutants, in Slack, and Ruben had not yet read this new issue, so he didn't. Yeah, I don't want to let on what I was talking about, but this is what
I felt like a dope when I read the issue, but it was funny enough.
Okay, next page. Calico arrives on flaming horseback to rescue some miners from a cave-in. And this was Cannonball's origin. Sam Guthrie, he had been in the mines. He was going to go to college, but his dad died from black lung. So he had to get in the mines to earn money to take care of his family and hope to send one of his brothers or sisters to college.
Yeah. And didn't he initially, he was working for Donald Pierce? I think that was the...
Yes. So after, So what happens to Cannonball is he's working as a miner, and the cave-in happens, and that's when his mutant power shows up, manifests, because he uses that to save somebody else who's trapped in the mine.
Right.
In fact, basically that second page here, where one of them says, "Get out of here, David, I'm done for." The other one says, "I'm staying, Mr. Lewis." I think Mr. Lewis was the guy that Sam saved. So
I think that's right. Yep.
Here it's David staying with him, who is not immune as far as we can tell, but that is exactly what Sam did. And then Sam goes all cannonball-y, and he's nigh invulnerable when he's blasting, and he can get the guy out of there.
Yeah.
But this time, Calico shows up, and we don't know where she comes from. She just appears.
Yeah.
I do wonder about flaming horse in a coal mine full of dust. Seems potentially a bad idea, but, what do I know? And she, I guess, rescues. Yeah, we do see them, fly on horseback, the two trapped miners out of the cave there.
Yeah. And again, we see Wolverine and Beast. Wolverine and Beast, kind of scouting out the talent, but again, they were not part of the team at this point.
Okay, yeah. I did not know that Brood section. I did not know that part of continuity, so that's very interesting. Finally here, we get Death Dream. And if we were going to follow the pattern, Death Dream should get plugged into Danny Moonstar's origin, because she's the only one who hasn't been replaced.
Yeah. He gets Sunspot's second part of Sunspot's origin. They share an origin.
Danny Moonstar's origin is very deeply tied into her being a Native American, and her grandfather, kind of the magical medicine man sort of thing, who was like blood brothers with Charles Xavier. And I guess Marvel and Gail Simone did not want to get Japanese guy tied into that.
Yeah.
So instead, we get a secondary scene from Sunspot's story when he's already been kidnapped. And here, the Hellfire Goons are asking Death Dream, tell us where Perimeter is.
Yeah.
Which is a word we haven't seen in a while. Perimeter
another thing that got me excited. I was like, oh, we're going back to that. That was cool. That was, what was that prison called? Grey Malkin Prison. Mm-hmm. That was like their defense system, right?
That's like their AI system that runs everything. Yeah. We saw a lot of it in the Sentinels miniseries. We saw a little bit of it in the early issues of Uncanny when we had scenes at Grey Malkin Prison. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what Grey Malkin is in whatever universe we're in here, or why the Hellfire Goons care about it.
Yeah.
Okay, all those retold origins out of the way, our outlier kids find their way to Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, I guess brought there by these various other characters. Like, we didn't mention it here, Death Dream he kind of saves himself, but he's also saved at the same time by Nightcrawler. So all of these people have some of the main mutants see them, kind of recruit them, and they're brought back to the school here. And who do they meet when they get back to this school, Ruben?
It's Moira. And then
Moira, and who else?
Mutina's there, yeah.
Mutina is there already.
Surprised me.
Mm-hmm. That was a cool page turn. Because, again, she's on the cover. Did not recognize her.
Yeah. I have not been a fan of Mutina. I think I've been specifically sort of like, I hate this character. But I want to give Gail some credit here. She's an annoying character, and to have her here, it kind of works, right? Because it creates this intentional friction. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a better character than I'm giving it credit for, because she's done a good job making me hate this character. And anytime they show up, I'm just like, oh, God.
It's another chance, because Mutina's never really been explained what her deal is. She has kind of shadow powers, but she also knows things that she has no business knowing. Yep. So here, she takes the place basically of Karma. Because Karma had gotten to the mansion ahead of the rest of the New Mutants. So Mutina waiting here for them is kind of like what Karma was.
Yeah.
So she's in here. Mutina's also the only person who kind of raises the possibility of, oh, maybe this is a trap. So is her power of whatever it is, knowing things she shouldn't know, is she related to what is really going on here? Is she responsible for it? Because we know she was connected to bad dreams at some point herself.
Yeah.
We saw her in Calico's bedroom, kind of causing her to have bad dreams. I think it was Calico. One of the girls, Calico or Jitter. I think it was Calico. So
yeah, if this is hinting at the fact that she actually has like some sort of powers that do give her unnatural knowledge, I'll feel a lot better about the fact that she seemed to know about Age of Revelation outcomes back in the current present time.
Yeah, a good explanation here could really do a lot to rescue what we did not like about this character. Mm-hmm. But here we get a final splash page where all these kids, including Mutina, are dressed in the classic black and yellow X-Men outfits, and they call themselves the new. I guess off that's Moira from Off Panel saying these are the New Mutants.
Yep,
which is a very. I mean, I don't know what Gail Simone is doing here, but she's doing something, and I want to know what it is and who's responsible. And again, the mystery could crash and burn, as any mystery could. But for right now, I'm into the mystery. I got to know what's going on here. And this feels like the strongest beginning of an Uncanny arc in probably since the historical stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I have been a critic of Gail's run, and I had dropped the series for a while. Probably about the last 6 or 7 issues. And I don't know what inspired me to resubscribe, but I did. And then I read this, and I was like, you know what? I'm keeping that subscription. This was good stuff. And in a way that it almost makes some of the things that I haven't liked to date better. Like it's sort of been building towards this, right? Like with Mutina and the emphasis on her and her being an annoying character that you got to deal with. It's like, okay, well, maybe there is a point to her. So I'm gonna say I gave this just a straight 8. I thought it was cool. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I want to know what's going on, and I was very, very wowed by the callbacks.
Yeah, I'm in the same area. I'm at an 8.3. The New Mutant stuff is clearly the best parts of it. The beginning things with the Gambit and Rogue thing, that kind of feels a little bit tacked on. It's not bad, but it's just kind of tacked on to the beginning. Mackenzie and Nightcrawler, that's fine too. Not as interesting, but all right. But yeah, this bit with whatever the hell is going on with the Outliers becoming the New Mutants, I think that's pretty darn cool. So I am at an 8.3 on that.
The reference to Perimeter too, right? Is starting to mention. I think I told you before, like the one thing I did like that the Grey Malkin prison stuff, I always felt like was the more interesting side of her story. And so for getting back to that, like, hooray.
Indeed. I do wonder if we're just in some sort of, hologram kind of world, and like the mention of Perimeter is just a randomly thrown in word that anything could have been there. So I'm not really too optimistic about it being all tied together, because I think it's going to be just somebody doing a dream world and just pulling in random words. But I am curious to see who it is. Okay, that was Uncanny number 26. We'll move on now to another issue called Uncanny. This is Uncanny X-Men 2026 annual number 1 of 1. It's called The Rise of the Regulators. It's written by Gail Simone and Mickey Kendall. Now, Gail Simone, we know her. Mickey Kendall, I looked her up. She's an author and activist. Her most famous book is something called Hood Feminism. Looks like her only comic-related work before this issue that I could find was that she contributed to a serialized Black Widow audiobook called Black Widow: Bad Blood. So she's a political nonfiction activist type person, and I think she did some sort of Gail Simone indie book before. I don't know those details. The art is by Francesco Martorino with Elisabetta D'Amico. That says in parentheses inks, which I guess means that D'Amico did some of the inks. Maybe Martorino did some of his own inks. I don't know. Colors are by Mattia Iacono. Letters by Clayton Coles. So, Ruben, if X-Men Annual, I complained, was really an Uncanny X-Men Annual, the Uncanny X-Men Annual is really, it's a Wolverine Annual with a little bit of guest appearance by Jubilee and the Outlier Kids. But at that standpoint, now that I've made my little bold declaration, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm usually not a fan of annual stories, but if you're going to do an annual, I think this is a good way to do it. It works both as a standalone story and also as a kind of I know you say it's a Wolverine story, but it does kind of provide some background detail on like Haven House and its origin and Lady Henrietta and where she came from and her role in this whole...
I'm being a little snarky here. It definitely gives more background to the Haven House Dark Artery story that we got in Uncanny X-Men. So it certainly works.
It still doesn't do a good job of... I'm sort of glad it didn't touch on Shuvarek. Because that's the part that doesn't actually make sense. But
we don't go into the Dark Artery at all. We have one character who is traveling here to bury his dead mutant kid at the Dark Artery, but we do not delve into the mystical, magical Shuvarakness of it all.
Yeah, but from this, you get more of a sense of like, well, Haven House is kind of a historical location. And I think in one of the issues in the past, like the house got destroyed, and I was just like, just rebuild it. Who cares? You've got like a million mutants, right? And I didn't understand why people would have such an emotional reaction to it getting damaged. But
it's shown
now we
as
kind of
being
see some.
A pivotal location, particularly for Black American mutants in the South, or with ties to the South.
Yeah. So this issue starts, and again, we see Ransom in a soccer jersey, and he's again wearing an Argentina jersey, which
or soccer, yes.
I'm gonna say that's not the right jersey for a Brazilian person to wear. But
let me look him up.
Yeah.
Tapey.
I looked it up. It's Sao Paulo. That's Brazil, right? Or is Sao Paulo Argentina? It's not Argentina.
Buenos Aires.
Oh, Buenos Aires. Okay.
Which is Argentina. So there you go. So he's not Brazilian. He is from Argentina.
Okay. All right. Whoosh.
How about Roberto?
People have been screaming
DaCosta?
at me. They're probably Argentinian. I always thought they were Brazilian for some reason.
Let's see. Sunspot, Roberto DaCosta, yada, yada, yada. Afro-Brazilian. So Sunspot is from Brazil, but his cousin is from Argentina.
Okay. I mean, it works, right? It's South America.
Sure.
You can live in two different countries. That's not crazy.
Especially they are wealthy family. They probably have homes in different places.
They're
more
sure.
mobile than just some person who's a peasant type person in a village.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to demand for my World Cup issues. We got to have a cover of Ransom in his Argentina jersey and Sunspot in a Brazilian jersey. And if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be very sad.
I'm going to riot.
I'm going to go on. I guess I'll go on Threads because I don't go on X, but I will send a nasty tweet to somebody. Yeah. Yes. Anyways.
He's wearing his Argentina jersey, which is completely correct and accurate for the character who is from Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yes. Now I know that for sure. Now I know that for sure. He speaks Spanish, so I definitely understand this character then. All right. So they're outside goofing around. You got Jitter playing against, I guess it's Jitter and Calico playing a game against Deathstream and Ransom.
Yeah, they kind of got their danger room training for the day made into a soccer game.
Yeah.
And two of them are really into it. Jitter and Ransom are really into it. Other two, looking at horses, picking daisies, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then you get exactly what you would expect to happen because Ransom is actually pretty good at soccer, but Jitter can just do her 1 minute amazing thing, and she channels Pele, and I was like, okay, that's great.
Which is one of two soccer players whose names I know.
Yes,
Haley, I know that name.
And he was Brazilian, so I'm sure this probably pisses off a certain demographic.
the other soccer player, Maradona, that's a soccer player name, right?
Yes.
Oh, and
he was the Argentinian.
David Beckham, that's three.
Yeah. Maradona, I think,
Anyways, that's a soccer player name, that's all I know. Yeah. So yeah, she can be, if she can make a cheese souffle by being a different French chef every minute, she can be a different amazing soccer player every minute and kick Ransom's punk ass.
Yeah. I think 1 minute of being an amazing soccer player to dribble past somebody, take a shot is probably good.
For one-on-one, I get that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So, I guess it's the fun moment. And then you have Jubilee and Logan watching, and then Wolverine's like, hey, I got to go somewhere. Can you be my date to this event? And Jubilee's like, I don't got anything better to do, so fine.
It's a slightly creepy way to phrase it, seeing that there are hundreds of years different in age, and she is always kind of like a daughter figure, but okay, fine.
Yeah, I think he just
more
means,
of a chaperone.
Yeah, just come
he
with me.
He even says that later on, that it's more like to keep him from getting out of hand. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So they go to this discotheque dance club kind of place. I did think it was funny that Logan is completely misdressed for the occasion.
Oh,
he's wearing a tuxedo.
You don't go to a nightclub and
with a cummerbund and a bow tie.
Yes,
Very funny. You'd think that he's been enough, bars and clubs, thinking back to Madripoor at least, put on an eye patch or something. You'd think he'd know how to fit in, but it's a funny visual, so sure, let's go for it.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. So he goes up to this bar in the club, and he's taking an interest in the bartender, which is kind of weird. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And
who is like a early 20-ish black woman.
Yeah, which is fine. And then he basically says, like, who knows? I just assumed it was like something with his backstory, right? And that turns out to be the case. But he's like, she's being hassled by some sleazebag that's stalking her, and I got to like take care of that guy. And so the only real question I had here is like, well, why is he doing this, right? Why is he going to safeguard this person? And then the rest of the issue explains the why. So she's like the descendant of somebody.
Your basic Logan bar fight. And he beats up these scuzzy dudes who are harassing and hitting on kind of an ex-boyfriend type of situation, it feels like, with this bartender whose name is Mala.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically this guy's like, hey, I want you to serve me. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And then she takes a break, and then he goes back room to like continue to harass her, saying she's playing hard to get, and he doesn't like that. And then Logan, I guess, follows him into the back room too, and then says, you need to leave the lady alone. And of course, somebody's like, what are you talking about? And so he throws fists and, beats the hell out of the people. And Jubilee's there to, I guess, stop him from killing the guy.
Yeah, make some pretty sparkly lights to distract people.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of like the frame story, and then we're gonna go
and then
back.
She's like,
into
"Why are you
this.
doing this?" And then we're like, "Well, let's go see why." And so then it goes back to, I guess, 100 years ago, to Haven House, Louisiana. And so this story starts with
Slaughter.
Slaughter, is that his name?
His
John
name is
Slaughter. That's right.
Perhaps it's pronounced Slafter. I don't know, but probably
John Slaughter.
John Slaughter. Yeah. He's the guy who has 4 arms and can shoot real good with all 4 of them.
Yeah. So he shows up. He's on a horse, and he's got a wagon attached to the horse, and he says he's got his dead son in the wagon, and he wants to bury him.
Also, it's impossible for me to read Slaughter's dialogue without thinking of Samuel L. Jackson's voice. It just, I'm pretty sure it was written with that in mind. It just sounds, I know Samuel L. Jackson is really more, the SHIELD guy in the MCU, but it's how it comes across here to me.
Yeah. And so he is greeted by, what's his name? Michael St. Juniors, which I think is progenitor of the current St. Juniors that has the house.
We get a short scene before that where Slaughter, he's bringing his dead son to Haven House to be buried. We don't know the details of how the son died, but we're told Slaughter left his son alone, and he thought the son would be okay, but he wasn't okay. He didn't know how to fight. Now he's dead. And we get a scene where he
gets accosted by some
4 bad white men.
Yeah.
Who asked for a toll, and then they're going to kill him, and he plays it super cool, and eventually has to use all 4 of his guns and all 4 of his arms to shoot the bad white men, and then
it's basically you seem triggered by this. I wasn't at all. These are just ruffians on the street.
Not triggered. It's just very there certainly were, especially 100 years ago, there definitely were bad white people, but this story presents it very much. All the black people are the good guys, and all the white people are just cartoonishly evil. The townspeople are evil. These people are evil. It's a comic book. I know it's not going to be War and Peace here, but it's a pretty shallow way of telling the story.
Well, this is supposed to be like Civil War era, right? Like around that time.
1920s, 1910s, I'm going to say.
Yeah, there was a lot of racial stuff going on back then. And we have Logan in here. He's a good guy. He's not a black guy. So I'm going to disagree with
he's a mutant. 100%
being done. Okay. Regardless, he's actually this guy's willing to pay the toll until they're like, hey, we need to see what's in the coffin, right? And that's when he says, you're not getting in there, right? Gives him a chance to just take his money and his boots and all that. But they want to get everything, so then he pulls his guns out and kills them all.
And then he goes and buries these guys. And when he buries them, he sees there's another grave nearby. He knows that these bad dudes have done this before. But this other grave is kind of moving around a little bit.
Yeah.
So he digs up the grave, and of course he finds...
Yeah, he finds Wolverine. Injured. And my first thought here was it's just bullets, right? I think Wolverine would survive that. So that was kind of bugging me. Later we find out, because he takes Wolverine with him to Haven House, and they look at him and they determine that he's actually been poisoned as well. So that kind of explains...
explained beyond. They say he's been poisoned, which is used to explain why he didn't just heal from the bullets, but we have no idea what is going on in Wolverine's history here. He's got the bone claws, which is appropriate, but his history is so complicated. Do we need to get Jim Zub to rewrite his Life of Wolverine story to put this little Haven House adventure into it? I'm not sure if he was supposed to be in Japan or Canada or North America at this point, America. But yeah, this is just one more, let's get Wolverine into everything that's ever happened in mutant history. And this is right before Henrietta is going to show up at Haven House. Yeah. So this is right that same story that we saw to take place in Uncanny all those months ago. This is exactly that same time period, a couple days earlier.
Yeah. So he's kind of recovering, and they use some, I guess, Lady Witchfire, who's another person here who's at the house.
Right. So let's see, who are these characters? So we got the characters we've seen before. They are the Regulators. I don't think they call themselves the Regulators in this book, but that's what editorial calls them. The Regulators are Slaughter Friedman, the four-armed gunfighter. Mm-hmm. We have Witchfire, who's this witchy-type wise woman who can do magic-y things and see the future and also conjure up fire and heal people. Yeah. Michael St. Juniors is there, who's the ancestor of Marcus St. Juniors. Yeah. And he refers to other mutants as kind of like one of us. So I guess he is a mutant, but we don't know what his deal is. Yeah. And Lady Henrietta, who is the kind of rock golem, rock controlling kind of person, she's also going to show up and be one of these Regulators.
Yeah. So they pull the poison out of Logan.
Heals Logan enough.
Yeah. And then there's a conversation about, hey, we killed some people, so there'll probably be some trouble. And sure enough, there is some trouble. Oh, Lady Henrietta shows up between here, right, at some point, and she is presented as some very inspirational character because she's got all these crazy powers.
Mm-hmm. So the events that we saw with Lady Henrietta kind of happen in between pages, in between panels of this story. So this takes place both before and just after her arrival at Haven House.
Yeah. So then I guess the town that's nearby here I guess New Orleans, they must have found the bodies of these ruffians.
They call it Haven Township, which I guess is some village near Haven House, just outside New Orleans. I don't know what the city limits were at that time, 100 years ago.
Yeah. So a mob forms and they blame some black mutant kids that are also in town for this. Mm-hmm. And you get a lynch mob kind of formed
and we
that
don't
wants to kill them.
Why these particular kids got picked up, how they were connected to the murders at all, why they'd be blamed. But they have almost like a Wonder Twin situation. The two of them together, I guess they can conjure like shadows, and they have shadows do their bidding. That comes up a little bit later. So they are definitely mutant kids.
Yeah. So they said, we didn't do the killing, and the evil sheriff is like, yeah, you probably didn't, but we gotta give the town some vindication, so they chill out, so we're just going to kill you anyways. And so he takes the kids out to be hung, and then the Regulators show up and decide to, break it up and save the kids. So Wolverine jumps in and is fighting, and basically everybody shows up and kicks some ass.
Yeah, everybody does their thing. Slaughter kind of shoots in the air. I don't think he actually shoots anybody in particular, but kind of just causes mass confusion. Witchfire shows up and burns the lynching tree down. Yep. And Lady Henrietta shows up and, conjures stone golems to just, scare the hell out of everybody.
Yeah. So then, let's see.
The only shown is actually killing one particular person. There's one kind of townsperson still kind of hanging on, trying to shoot people, who seems like he was connected to the guys who got killed by Slaughter at the beginning. Witchfire, murders him to death pretty dramatically. But he's the only one we actually see dying in this little story here.
Yeah. And they all decide they're going to just kind of follow Lady Henrietta, and she's going to live at this place. And they invite Logan to stay with them, but he basically says, I got to go find and deal with whoever poisoned me. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of just alluded to.
The two kids kind of playing almost looks like a magical soccer type game in the same, presumably, field that we saw the Outliers playing soccer in at the beginning, which is kind of a little cool parallel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the end of that story. And then we get back to present day, where we have a little conversation between Logan and Mala, with Jubilee kind of hanging on the side.
Yeah, and then Logan just says, hey, I owed your ancestor a favor, so if you ever need anything, I'm going to protect you. So if you get hassled by those creeps again, you give me a call. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that she's like the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of whatever the guy is with the forearms.
Slaughter, I believe.
Slaughter, thank you. Yeah.
And then this is, I don't know what this is, but in the final panel, he hugs Mala, has this emotional moment, and the background, it's non-diegetic, meaning this is not, they're in her house. This is not like the actual physical look of her house. But the background of this panel is drawn with some sort of African pattern symbolism going on, which comes out of nowhere because we haven't seen any particular African culture referenced, any African languages, any African anything, other than that these are Black Americans in America from the 1920s and the 2020s. It's just a really weird choice to me to just put up this pattern in the background of the final panel when you call it a day. Very strange.
That's her mutant power. Her mutant power is redecorating a house with African wallpaper.
She could get her own TV show, but it's not the dumbest mutant power I've ever heard of. So good for her.
Yeah, whatever. You seem to be annoyed a lot about this issue. I thought it was fine.
The story is fine. There's certain aspects of it that are very heavy-handed, and I thought just didn't make the story any better. It just makes the writers feel a little more smug and better about themselves. What I get out of it, but
the number one thing for me was really a question of, I thought Haven House was a place that Gambit and Rogue kind of discovered and knew about, and Wolverine was just there tagging along.
Mm-hmm.
And here he seems to clearly remember his time having been here in the past.
Has Wolverine ever mentioned
he hasn't
before?
He hasn't. So I was just kind of like, that's kind of weird. You would have thought like he would have been like, oh, this is where we're setting up a base. I was here at one point.
Right. You'd think it would come up.
Or he would like talk to St. Junior's and be like, oh, you're Michael St. or you're
right. I know
whatever St. Junior's. I knew your great-great-grandfather. He was a cool dude, right? Like, so that part was just a little weird to me.
Yeah. Clearly, this was a decision made later in the process when it was too late to go back in time and have Logan say something. But if you're going to tell a story about the past and you want a current day character to be in your story, Logan is the obvious choice because he's been alive for a long time. His memory is full of holes. You can put him kind of wherever you want in history and make him an excuse for why he was there.
Yeah. I liked it in the sense that it gives more history to this Haven House. It makes it more of a place that has some cultural significance, which I thought was interesting. And the idea of like, we see a little bit more of like when Lady Henrietta showed up and, maybe what might have drawn her there. Like we find out that basically there's this graveyard here, right? That is a safe graveyard to bury African-American mutants, right? And she had been showing up there with, I think, the ashes of her mother
or grandmother, I forget which, but
something like that. Yeah. So now I just kind of I read this, I was like, oh, I get it. It's it was been a place that everybody knew about.
Yeah, that was fine.
So I don't know. I actually liked it more than I expected to like it for annuals in general, which are usually nothing stories.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a little bit less than issue 26, so I'll give it like maybe a 7.5. But I've read a lot worse annuals than this.
Oh yeah.
So I got to give her some credit. Where credit's due.
The story itself is fine. I would have liked to know a little more background about, those kids who were arrested were going to be lynched, kind of what their deal was. But it is a one-issue annual. It's got to be a one and done. So I get that there's a limited amount of page space. I've made my little complaints about some of the storytelling I thought was a little bit forced, but it's not awful. I'm going to give it a 6.8. Totally fine with a couple of little, did you really need to do that, Gail Simone? And I guess you did. Okay, that was the Uncannual. Let's move on to our third and final issue of this podcast, which is Wolverine number 18, Clash of the Champions. Written by Saladin Ahmed, art by Martin Kokolo, colors by Jesus Abertov, and letters by Corey Pettit. So this should be pretty quick, because this is a very straightforward issue. Logan is still in the northern woods of Canada, protecting the Knorlocks with the help of Silver Sable. Mm-hmm. The Adamantine, we know, is on the move again, has been looking for a new champion to replace Romulus, who's been shown to be not quite up to the task. What is the Adamantine's motivation again? It just hates adamantium, right? It thinks adamantium kind of sucks ass and is just insulting. And that's it, right? That's its entire thing?
Yeah, it basically says that adamantium is like a perverted metal because it's like human infused.
Okay. It's not like a pure natural stuff.
Pure natural stuff. Although strangely, it doesn't seem to hold up in this issue, and we'll get into that, where I was like,
right.
You talk a lot of trash on adamantium, but it seems to be a little better than whatever you've got going on.
I do wonder, are we going to get an adamantine versus Mysterium story? Could you feed it little bits of Mysterium like Cammy was eating in Nova? Yeah, I had to give Nova the chop there, sorry.
Even Vibranium, right?
Vibranium, something. Are we going to get all the Marvel metals mixed up here?
Yeah.
So anyway, in this issue, maybe Cammy can eat adamantine. Yeah. Anyway, she got rid of her whole or whatever that virus cosmic creature was in her anyway, so she's not eating any more metal. In this issue, Logan is hanging out at the new Kenorlock village, the one where that Chushar kid kind of fixed up the houses. He's the one who got kidnapped last time out. Narration.
Yeah, I want to say something about that. So he fixed up the house, but we've still got like a barrel of hobos like burning, something in a steel barrel to like heat themselves. And I'm like, really? Like, I know that's like you got to show the Morlocks being like homeless people, but there's like a gas tank here too, right in the background.
Oh, okay. Is that what
I'm
that
like,
is?
There's got to be some heat. Like,
that's
in these
the
buildings.
thing. Later on, I have a whole bit of my notes about what is this thing that comes crashing down on Logan.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah, they picked that up.
What? But I can see it there, but what is it? A tank? It's got little nubbly bits all over it.
Yeah,
I've never seen a propane tank with like spikes on it. Yeah. I still don't know what it is, but I do see it. It exists in a previous panel. We'll get to that.
I just like this mutant's power is apparently to like half-ass build a city. He can build anything, but he can't give you like central heating
or Wi-Fi, right?
Yes.
So there's also some art and word discrepancy here where the narration talks about how these Kenorlocks, they have to be here because they can't pass as human. But in the art,
and they all look human.
They all look completely 100% human. Every last one of them. No purple skin, no horns, no tails, not even any sixth fingers. They're just people-looking people. So should have been a little more communication there. If you want to say they can't pass for human, draw them as monsters.
Yeah, just take a bath and take off your stocking caps, right? Like stop wearing hobo clothing. And I think these people would be perfectly fine.
It'd be all right. But now things start moving very quickly. Rogan can smell Romulus nearby, sends up the alarm, tells everybody kind of go run and hide. They've been training to be more proactive, but they're no match for Romulus. Logan and Sable track the scent into the woods when they find Romulus, but Romulus is very, very dead. There we go. R.I.P. Romulus. I know we all miss Romulus. He was one of our favorite characters ever, but he is completely dead now, torn in half.
Yes.
So, who has the adamantine found to replace Romulus?
Oh, Hercules! Oh, Hercules!
Yeah, there we go. Yep. It is Hercules. Ruben, I am not prepared to do a deep dive on Hercules. Sorry for listeners, we're not getting 20 minutes on Herc. He has been a Marvel character since before Marvel was called Marvel, so he's been around forever. He's been an Avenger on and off since like 1967. Usually a hero, but he basically likes drinking and fighting and carousing, so he goes off the plantation now and then. Yeah. I really don't know what he's been up to lately. Doesn't really matter because in this issue he's completely possessed by the spirit of the adamantine. Something that happened off-panel between issues. Kind of a bummer. That feels like it would be a fun scene for us to see in a comic book. Yeah. Hercules being possessed by this metal, but...
I mean, what do you imagine happened here? Like, was Romulus in the adamantine suit, and then he finds Hercules, and then somehow convinces him to go to this location in Canada, and then, like, switches over to Hercules?
Well, no, I think because the adamantine possessed multiple people at the same time. We saw that happen with the guy... I'm going to forget all these characters' names. The guy that had the adamantium kind of tentacles like Doc Ock, the guy with adamantium skin. So the adamantine can possess multiple people. So I'm sure it just took over both of them.
He brought them both, and then he like did a symbiote thing where he just like goes over to Hercules and kills
it was
Romulus.
With both of them, then all of it goes to Hercules. Hercules picks up Romulus, tears him in half.
Rips him apart, something
like that. Okay. Now Hercules is fair game for the adamantine because he has always, or at least for a long time, used an adamantium mace. Yeah. Kind of a funny looking weapon. It reminds me, Ruben, you ever play wiffle ball as a kid or with your kids?
I've not with my kids, but yes.
So I know what you're talking about. The main wiffle ball bat is the thin yellow one. But the little kid who's not so good at it, that kid gets
chunky red one.
The big fat red one. And that's what Hercules' mace looks to me. It's like the little kid's bat, but colored gold now.
I bet it's hollow too. It probably like weighs like nothing. You could just...
And you can hear
You're supposed to think it's like,
that
he's
hollow
so strong.
thunk sound. It does a very distinctive thunk sound when the wiffle ball hits the big fat red bat. Thunk. So that's Hercules' adamantium mace, and that's why the adamantine can get its hooks in.
Now, I have another question for you. Isn't Romulus, doesn't he have like a healing factor?
Yes, he absolutely does.
So I was like, why would you think he's dead? Would you just assume that he's going to like heal back up?
We don't know what the adamantine was able to do to him, but yeah, Romulus has been shown in the past to have a healing factor at least as good as Wolverine's. So we're told definitively saying Romulus is dead. He is very much, I guess he's still connected by some of his intestines,
Yeah.
But other than that, he
We're
seems
supposed
to be
believe
dead.
he's dead.
Another writer in the future, if they really want to bring back Romulus, you could certainly make a case that, he got better and he, slithered off somewhere. But as far as we know in this story, he's dead. The rest of this issue is essentially just a long fight scene between Logan and Hercules. Not a great one. I had some trouble following the geography of what's going on. Here's where I mentioned there's a bit where Hercules picks up some giant metal thing with nubbly bits on it, smashes it down on Logan, and now I know that did appear in the background of a panel earlier on. Still don't know what it is. If it's supposed to be a propane tank, it doesn't look like any propane tank I've ever seen. One other thing does happen. The fight causes a fire in the Knorlock village. Chowdown, one of the new characters, he manages to engulf the entire fire with his mutant engulfing ability. Sounds cool, but was not drawn to look all that cool on panel, unfortunately. It just looks like he's opening like a trench coat, and from behind we just see the fire disappear. That was a little disappointing. And here's the bit where I'm sure you were referring to, Ruben, because we have Logan's adamantium claws versus Hercules' adamantine mace, and they crash into each other. And who wins, Ruben? Which metal wins this confrontation?
Of course, the thin claws, not the Olympian god swinging solid metal adamantine thing, which we've been told the adamantine is supposed to be better, like a purer form of adamantium. It just splits and cracks.
We get an SKRNK sound effect, which I'm sure is that metal on metal, fingernails on a chalkboard kind of sound. It makes my back hurt just kind of even thinking of the sound. But the mace shatters into multiple pieces, and I thought, well, is this going to break the spell of the adamantine? Is Hercules going to kind of come back to himself? But no, he just continues to flip out. And Logan is shown as having strength basically on par with Hercules in this whole fight, which I don't think that works, right?
No.
Logan is strong, but he's not literal Hercules strong.
He doesn't have the strength of 10 men, no.
He's not literal demigod strength.
I can accept that Hercules can't rip him in half because of his adamantium core, but you would think he would have no problem just pushing Logan down.
Strength versus strength, grappling, it should be no contest, but it's shown to be very equal here until at the very end, they both freeze. They literally freeze hovering in the air as they're about to, jump and punch each other in a very classic comic book style. And in the final panel, we see they're frozen because Athena is here. Not Athena the Eternal, Athena the Olympian goddess with her magic spear, her pet owl, and it looks like this arc is going to end next issue. I'm ready for this to be over. I didn't like the adamantine the first time it came around. Never liked Romulus, any of the Romulus stories I've read. So if you wanted to see Logan fight Hercules, and that was a dream you've always had, I'm sure it's happened before, but here you go. So the art is fine. It's bits where I thought it should be more epic. It wasn't as epic as I wanted it to be. So it's not an awful story. It's kind of a very basic Logan fighting big bad guys, protecting people kind of a story.
Yeah.
So I'm at a 6 out of 10. It's not awful, but it's a very, very basic, standard kind of Logan story.
Yeah.
And if that's what you wanted to see, here you go. How about
Does Hercules have a healing factor?
Boy, I don't even know his details. I think he's just really strong, and he's just immortal, right? He is a literal demigod.
Anyways, it's sort of interesting because he gets his eye almost cut out, and I kind of laughed at that. I was like, "Is this the
Odin here?"
Yeah, we're gonna do an Odin thing, but we don't. I don't know. I thought the fight scene was sort of fun-ish.
I think currently, aren't the Asgardian gods, the world has forgotten about them, and I think the Olympian gods have kind of stepped in to fill that void. So I would think that Hercules should be busy doing Al Ewing stuff right now, but I'm not really reading that. I only have a vague impression from kind of seeing covers and flipping through coverage. But
he's going to wander back after this, I'm sure.
Maybe that's why Athena's here to say, "Hey, Herc, you got stuff to do."
Yeah.
So
you also get a line. You also get a line where Logan confirms that he and Silver Sable have been hooking up, and that he likes her because she doesn't ask questions. Which I was like, that's kind of misogynistic, Mr. Logan.
Well, I mean, that is his type. He doesn't like a chatty woman.
Yeah. I didn't hate it, but it's pretty basic pitch. So I'm going to give it a 5.5. I'm going to give it a 5.5. It's not quite a 5 like an FU5, but it's not great.
It's very forgettable. It's just a fight scene, and it's not the best fight scene ever. And if you're going to have a book that's 90% fight scene,
it's got to be good.
It's got to be a damn good fight scene, and this is just one long, okay fight scene.
That scene where the adamantine just shatters is going to forever be a problem for me. Because I'm like, it just looks like a sword against a mace, right? Like, I felt like some of those weapons were designed specifically to break swords. And we were told in all of the issues before this that the adamantine was like a purer form and it hated adamantium specifically because it was a synthetic metal. So why is it breaking now?
We know from previews that kind of the next big thing in this book is going to be Wolverine's claws getting broken. But in this issue, we see the claws being smashed by Hercules with his adamantine mace. So is this to show us his claws are super strong to kind of, when they do get cracked, it's going to be even that more shocking because we've seen them survive this? Maybe that's what Sally Ahmed is trying to set up.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't buy it.
Okay. Well, that was Wolverine number 18, which was our last book of the week. So let's look forward to next week. A couple things going on next week. X-Men United number 2, where last we saw the Of the Mind school was set on Of the Mind Fire, maybe by Scott Summers. Curious what happens there.
Yes, I'm going to continue to say Scott was 100% justified in all of his criticisms.
Cyclops was right.
Of that, yes.
Absolutely. We also have Inglorious X-Force number 4. We'd been liking that book. The last one went off the rails kind of a bit with the whole next wave thing.
I'm really hoping this gets back on the rails, and I can just say that was a one-off kind of lame issue.
Domino is going to be very much in the main story going forward, at least in this next issue, because the cliffhanger was her looking like she just shot Cable. So we'll have to get that explained. We also have
Magic. By the way, was it Nils or was it Garb? One of them said they were going to read the entirety of Next Wave, and I was like, I don't think that's the message you were trying to communicate.
Somebody said they just bought all of Next Wave. It might have been Garb Jones. Like, oh, okay.
I think you messed up, man.
Well, Garb has different tastes than we do, which is fine. He appreciates some of the books we like that we don't like as much, which is good.
He said Psylocke Ninja continues to be amazing, and I was like, okay.
Different people have different tastes, and I'm very happy. Some like YouTube-y type people, it's almost like they're leading a cult. You have to like the things we like, and you absolutely have to hate the things we hate. And that's not what we're doing here. I mean, God bless you. If you like Dazzler, sure, enjoy Dazzler. We're just not going to like it. That's fine. We don't need to like all the same things.
I'm going to propose something to you. We should try to get. He doesn't have any recording equipment, so this will never actually work. But if you get a microphone, we will have you on, and you could tell us why Psylocke Ninja is amazing, because you do seem to love it.
Opinions. He has fantastically interesting opinions that are different. You and I kind of mostly like the same things, which we get along well, but that could be a little bit boring. If Garb or somebody else wants to come in and disagree with us, love it. Love it. So we talked about X-Men United number 2 next week, Inglorious X-Force number 4 next week, Magic and Colossus number 3. Last time we saw the siblings were separated by that Rasputin-looking guy, monk in the church. We'll learn more about that. Also next week, Imperial Guardians number 2. I was enjoying that book. That was the one that got sadly turned into a miniseries before it even started.
Yeah.
Also next week is Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mortal number 3, or Mightiest Mutant, whatever the hell she is. I'm at least going to flip through that to see.
You have to keep reading it so that when we get to issue 4, we can jump in and you can tell me what happened.
Yeah, issue 4 is when the kid shows up, right?
Yeah.
Who may or may not be Wolverine's daughter as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's one we have to cover, but I don't want to read those 2 issues in between. I just want to pick up number 4 and read it.
We'll get to it. When something important happens in Storm, you will hear about it here. Okay, so that's next week. I do have some recommended reading for this week, and it's obvious, right? After what we talked about in Uncanny number 26, clearly what people need to read to know what's going on is the Brute Force miniseries from 1990. 100%.
Critically important.
Critically important.
If you've never read that, I don't even know if you're a Marvel Comics fan.
That's probably the basis of the event coming in September. It's probably going to be a X-Men versus Brute Force. That's what I'm going to guess. It's all about, it's even said evolution, right? Evolution is contagious. The Brute Force creatures start to evolve. It writes itself, Ruben. That's got to be what it is. Or I guess if you really want to, you could also read Marvel graphic novel number 4, which introduces the New Mutants and is what is kind of remixed and retold in Uncanny number 26. Marvel Unlimited has this graphic novel, but it's hard to find. I really wish they just put it at the beginning of the New Mutants
the reading guide,
Volume 1 or the
no
reading guide
not
or
to.
something.
Yeah.
Now, I've posted the link for it in our Slack channel, so if you're in the Patreon, if you're on Slack, you can just click onto it from Slack. If you're not, search for New Mutants graphic novel. Forget the number 4. They don't call it that. New Mutants graphic novel, and it should come up in the app. And it's a good read. It's Chris Claremont being Chris Claremont, but not being the over-the-top kind of almost self-parody Chris Claremont, where he repeats things over and over again. It's good classic storytelling. You see the first meeting of Cannonball and Alberto, Cannonball and Sunspot, where they actually are to fight at first, where, like you said, Ruben, after Cannonball turns all mutant, he ends up working for Donald Pierce of the Hellfire Club for a while, because he needs the money. And then we see how he ends up joining the New Mutants, so that's really cool. Definitely check this out. It's a good read, New Mutants graphic novel on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, I thought it was a good story. And even the first few issues of New Mutants are pretty solid. So it's making me like that group more than I did before.
Absolutely. And also I have some recommended viewing. Like I've said, I haven't been feeling so good, but I have been feeling well enough to watch way more anime than anyone really should. It is the start of a new anime season, new spring anime season. And my favorite thing is to watch the first episodes of as many new anime as I possibly can watch. Most of them not great, but I have 2 recommendations, and both of these you do not need a specialty anime subscription to watch. If you got Amazon Prime, and Ruben, I think you might like this. This is called Witch Hat Atelier, Atelier, which is French for like hotel or something like that. Witch Hat Atelier.
I got my sister that manga one year because she's an anime fan, and I had read it was like a very well reviewed, like family friendly.
Family friendly. You can, again, I've only watched the first episode, but it seems like something you can watch with your kids. It's beautiful. It's a girl being introduced to the world of magic. And in this world, magic is made by drawing these beautiful, detailed symbols. So it looks really cool visually. So that's on Amazon Prime. And if you have Hulu, or if you're outside the US and you have Disney Plus, you can watch a show called Rooster Fighter, which is not the same as Witch Hat Atelier. It is not family friendly. It's a ridiculous show about a rooster who fights demons. So your silliest shonen fighting thing you've ever seen, but he's a rooster. And also it features extreme violence and explicit rooster-on-hen sexual activity. So do not watch that with your kids. But if you want to, close the doors, close the windows, and watch some silly anime fun, Rooster Fighter on the Hulu. So those are my recommendations, Ruben. And while people are watching this rooster kick some demon ass and reading all about the brute force, what else can they do with their valuable time?
I guess you could read more X-Men comics.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Beat it, or I'll call the Brute Squad.
I'm on the Brute Squad.
You are the Brute Squad.